All signs point to this, as multiple insiders have reported that the New York Rangers have finalized Mike Sullivan's coaching staff, and who some of these names are will shock Rangers fans, as one of them is a familiar face. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest, but before we do that, I want to introduce Bret to the channel. Bret is going to be a new content creator here on Rangers Digest. He's a hardcore Rangers and New York sports fan. So Bret, welcome into the channel.
Thank you, Darius. Couldn't be more excited to get things rocking and rolling here. Excited for the upcoming season, and I really hope things turn around for the Rangers here because they're much more fun to talk about when they're doing well. I know how the fan base is here, residing in New York my entire life. The fan base is extremely passionate. They love their hockey team. They love the blue shirts, and I'm excited to break it all down here with you, Darius, and we're going to have a fun conversation here today because, as we spoke about before the video started, Rangers fans are already fired up and not in a positive way.
Yes.
The verdict shows that so far it's been a negative reaction, and we're going to break that all down coming up here in just a second.
Yeah, absolutely. An interesting day for you to join the channel, that's for sure. Interesting topic, but we'll dive right into it. Multiple reporters and insiders have here that the Rangers are finalizing their coaching staff, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to have their opinions in the comments. I'm very excited to read those. But Molly Walker is reporting, and not just her, Elliot Friedman, a bunch of other names are reporting that it isn't officially announced yet, but it's looking like Joe Sacco, who I covered in a video yesterday actually, will be joining the Rangers coaching staff as an assistant coach, and David Quinn, a familiar face to Rangers fans. We're going to break that down, that's for sure. And Ty Hines, who I'm actually very excited for, and again, we're going to get to that in a second. I think he's going to be a difference maker on this staff, will all join Mike Sullivan's coaching staff. And again, it's not officially announced at the time of the recording by the New York Rangers, but Elliot Friedman has it. Vince Mercogliano, has it. All of these names are all the same, and they're all being linked to the New York Rangers. Now, I'm very excited for Ty Hines. We'll get to him in a second. He was with Sullivan in Pittsburgh, and again, I think he's going to make a very big difference with the young guys on this team. But from Vince Mercogliano, he just sat down at his computer, and he can confirm that these names are all the same. They're going to be on the coaching staff. So how do you feel about this, Bret? Obviously, I mean, maybe we start with David Quinn, because he's a name that Rangers fans are going to know very well. And the reaction online so far this morning is absolutely insane.
Well, Darius, that's exactly where I was going there. David Quinn is the name that pops out to me the most for sure. I mean, looking at this tweet here from Vince, you can see Joe Sacco is in bold letters, but really should be David Quinn because that's the name that jumps out to me for sure. And Rangers fans across the world, because like we just said, they're really unhappy about this, and I don't blame them. My take is as a head coach, he was disgraceful, to be quite honest with you. He had 2 seasons here where he was unproductive. Rangers didn't make the playoffs. Let's not forget they were just coming off a Stanley Cup run in 2015. They were making the playoffs virtually every season. And then David Quinn comes in with a new vision. Rangers looking to go in a different direction, and it simply didn't work out. The Rangers let him go. But now he's coming back, and like we spoke about before the video, things could change. He's going to have less of a role where he could just focus on the power play, which is going to be good to see because when it comes to the power play, David Quinn, that's his bread and butter right there. David Quinn is really good when it comes to the power play. The stats back that up. If you look at what he did with the Pittsburgh Penguins last season, they went from the 30th ranked power play before David Quinn got there. They were 30th in the NHL. They bring him in, and this past season, the Penguins were 6th. Top 10 in the NHL, nearly cracked the top 5, and I think that's extremely key for the New York Rangers to turn the corner here because, as you and I both know, when the Rangers are at their best, it's when their special teams is at their best, and I think David Quinn could change the trajectory here. As a head coach, he was awful. As an assistant coach on the power play, I think there's upside, and I'm looking forward to David Quinn being back in New York.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic at this point, especially with him being an assistant coach where he can zero in on one thing specifically. And like you said, you can see it in the tweet here. Man, he quite literally built this power play that we saw last year that brought the Rangers to a President's Trophy and obviously the third round. And the power play was great, and they're a better team when the power play is going. Every team would be, but the Rangers power play, when it gets going with some of the guys they have on the team now, it can be really special. So obviously, again, he did some great work with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I like the fact that he's a guy that's coming from Pittsburgh because I like the fact that Mike Sullivan's going to have his guys on the staff because there's a lot of talk about keeping Michael Pekka and obviously Dan Muse, who's now, and I said said it in the video yesterday, obviously, that he might return. Clearly not returning because he's been hired by the Pittsburgh Penguins, kind of a swap there. But, I think it's important that the coach has his guys. So I'm really happy about that. I do want to touch on, too, before we start to wrap up here, on a couple of the other guys that are going to be on staff as well. Joe Sacco, I touched on him in a video yesterday. I'm actually very excited for him as well because he was the interim head coach of the Boston Bruins last year after Jim Montgomery got fired. He didn't do great things. That team was not going to go anywhere, and they ended up selling off at the trade deadline. But what he, in conjunction with Quinn is going to be able to do for the special teams, I think is going to be special. Look at the Bruins PK ranks over the last couple of years. Obviously terrible last year, although in December they were first in the NHL, which is crazy considering they're outside of the playoffs. But a couple of years ago, ninth in the NHL, first in the NHL in 23, seventh in the NHL, and then of course last season. So he was top 10 all of those years. So if he can bring the Rangers PK to maybe a top 5 spot, because they have the personnel there, I feel like that's going to bring the Rangers to a new level. So honestly, with some of the new personnel, the fact that they're going to rebuild the defense, the new coaching that, staff that are going to come in and focus in on these areas, and they're good in these areas, I'm feeling optimistic about the team. So how do you feel about Sacco coming in?
I feel optimistic as well. Like I said, David Quinn as a head coach wasn't a fan of, but I do see upside there. Cautiously optimistic is the right way to view that situation. Joe Sacco coming in, I'm cautiously optimistic as well, but I certainly see the upside like you do because we're looking at this great statistic here. And you see top 10, 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24. So what it looks like to me is this most recent season was an outlier. If we're looking at the rest of this list here, he's been top 10 on the penalty kill. And like I alluded to just a second ago, when the Rangers are at their best, it's when their special teams is at their best. And I think Chris Drury, he's made some questionable moves here of late, but I think he realized, just like in football, you build inside out in the trenches. In the NHL, special teams, that's very important. You need to take advantage of your opportunities when you have the man advantage, and you need to limit the damage when the other teams have the advantage against you. So I think that that experience that Sacco and Quinn have in their respective roles is really going to help this Rangers team, and the connections to Mike Sullivan is going to make his transition pretty seamless because although he is a 2-time Stanley Cup winning coach, coaching in New York is different. So I think having your guys with you is certainly going to help out. And if the Rangers play their cards right, they will have a good season. So I'm looking forward to it, cautiously optimistic, just like you.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. I'm excited about it, especially once they officially announce it. The one last person I want to touch on, and very quickly, we don't have to spend too much time on it, but is Ty Hines, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But just like this account, Bald Panarin, great account on Twitter, by the way, is it's probably his favorite hire of the new New York Rangers assistants. And let's keep in mind, none of this is official yet, but it's heading in this direction. And usually when all the insiders come out with the same names, it's going to happen. And he went on to say that he was the Penguins skating coach and development coach before, joining Mike Sullivan on the bench in 2022, and seems like an offensive guru. It seems like he's going to work with the offensive guys, obviously the offense and all of the forwards and stuff. But Rangers fans have been praying for a guy to come in and be able to develop young players, and I feel like he's going to be able to do that, at least on the offensive side. And I think that's an okay thing because, yes, the defense needs some work, but guys like Alexis Lafreniere, like I've been predicting that he's actually, he should have a really good season under the new coaching staff next year. And he's going to have to, or else it's going to look really bad. So really quickly, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think is it an organizational thing? Do you think, this coach can help in that way? Because I feel like that's something they definitely have to put attention to detail to.
I think it's a great hire as well. It may not be the flashy hire. It may not be the one that jumps off the page like David Quinn does, obviously, but he's been in Pittsburgh since 2018. He joined Mike Sullivan's bench in 2022. So that camaraderie that I was alluding to earlier is definitely important as Sullivan transitions here to New York. And I think bringing in Sullivan, the aspects of this team that looked bad this most recent year is going to improve. The defense is going to be more organized. The offense is going to be better because you're bringing in this offensive guru like Ty Hines. And hopefully he does unlock the potential of these younger players because Alexis Lafreniere, I need to see more from him this season. I need to see what I saw last season. I need to see him on the power play as well. If you look at him in 5-on-5 time, he's great. So when the Rangers have the man advantage, I really think that he can execute and get the job done. We could break down Alexis Lafreniere in another video here, maybe next video. But in terms of Ty Hines, I think it's a very good move. The camaraderie is there. his connection with Sullivan. I think it's going to be a seamless transition. And like I said, if all things go how we expect them to go, what the statistics show, the Rangers are going to have a very good season.
Absolutely. And, it's Mike Sullivan's guys, and I think that's a great thing, and it's going to be exciting to watch. And like you mentioned, we're definitely going to have a video on Alexis Lafreniere and the specifics of that, that's for sure. But I think they'll be able to kind of unlock him a little bit, and like you said, with the special teams and the attention to detail through this coaching staff, it's going to be awesome to see. But we want to hear what you have to say in the comments about all of these guys that seem like they're going to be hired by the Rangers to join Mike Sullivan's coaching staff. And leave a welcome to Bret in the comments as well, because Bret is going to be on the channel very often now. He's going to be doing his own videos. We're going to be doing duos. We're going to have a lot of stuff heading into the draft, which is going to be exciting. We don't even know if the Rangers are going to keep their pick. We're going to have a video on that as well. And obviously free agency, because Chris Drury, I think he has some crazy things planned, because he always does some crazy things. So let us know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.